Welcome to Watch Crazy, and today we're going to take a look at an age-old question. Are luxury watches really better bang for the buck? Do we really get a better quality, better finish item if we pay more for it? But before we get started, please ensure to like, share and subscribe for more great videos like this one. Okay, so I'm going to break this into three parts. The first we will look at is our perception. The second, the attention to detail, and the third will be my conclusion. I'm obviously guessing many of you are saying, well, of course you're going to get a far superior item when purchasing, let's say, the IWC Pilot's Watch reference IW327009 compared to the Seiko Pressage reference SRPB07J1. And yes, you would be absolutely right, because in many cases you do get what you pay for. But that isn't true across the board. For example, recently a company by the name of Payless, who are a US-based footwear retailer, created a fake brand named Palessi. They set up a launch party and invited many of the major fashionatas within the industry to check out their new merchandise. The experts thought the shoes were fantastic, and many of them paid roughly $600 to $650 a pair. Now, these same shoes Payless sell for under $20 on their own website. So what does Payless's advertising stunt show us? Well, it shows us in part as to how the human mind works in relation to different price points. If an item is more expensive and therefore slightly more exclusive due to the higher price, this somehow affects, determines and affirms our beliefs that this product must be better. Whereas with a much cheaper item, we generally have more skepticism about it and therefore will not necessarily hold it in such high regard. So, with that in mind, let's first take a look at two similarly spec'd watches, one Swiss, one Japanese. The first is the Breitling Superocean 2 reference, and I hope you're sitting down for this, A17392D8/C910/162A, which costs £3,250. And the second is the Seiko Prospex Samurai reference SRPC93K1, which retails for £449 but can be found online from as little as £255. Let's quickly go through both watch specs. The Breitling is 44mm in diameter and the Seiko is 43.8mm. The Breitling's 14.2mm thick, whereas the Seiko is 12.8mm thick. The Breitling has sapphire crystal. It uses the 25 jewel Breitling 17 movement, which has a reserve of 38 hours and can be taken to depths of 1,000 meters. That's 3,300 feet. Whereas the Seiko has the not so tough but still pretty good Hardex glass. It uses the 23 jewel in-house 4R35 movement and can only go to depths of 200 meters. That's 660 feet. However, a bit of a reality check here. The majority of us mere mortals and the more recreational divers will possibly never go beyond 40 meters or 130 feet underwater at best in our lifetimes. And as one of my viewers rightly pointed out in the comment section on a previous video, professional divers use dive computers, so the Seiko's 200 meters is certainly more than ample enough. Both watches also have solid end links, are predominantly both machine and handmade, and assembled and finished using many of the same tools, machining tools, etc. Even Breitling's caliber 17 movement, which is essentially the ETA 2824 or actually the cheaper Sellita SW200, are made using pretty much the same manufacturing process techniques as we can see here in this fantastic video by Chrono24 at the Sellita factory. The link is in the description below. And we can also tell by looking at the advancements in the quality of replica watches. For example, in this brilliant How to Spot Fake Watches by Eric of CRM Jewelers, the link obviously below in the description, shows a genuine and super replica of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore side by side, we can clearly see that many of the same materials, techniques, tools, skills and machinery must have been used, and therefore proves to us that the watch industry as a whole is, if not using all, many of the same tools and techniques, which brings us nicely into the second part of this journey, the attention to detail. Just like our perception of an item based upon its price, the term luxury also helps to further affirm our beliefs that the item cannot only be better, but finished to a far superior level. So, sorry to shatter your dreams here, but take a look at these screenshots. The first watch pictured comes from a fantastic review by Chris of Horology House on his new Omega Seamaster 300. The link to Chris's video can be found below in the description. Here we can clearly see several defects to the 12 o'clock hour markers, the dial, as well as bad print quality on the logo and lettering. Or how about the following screenshots from a few of the many excellent videos by Watchfinder & Co. Links to these videos are also below. Here we have the Rolex Pepsi GMT-Master 2, and we can clearly see splats of displaced red enamel paint between the GMT hand stem and triangular marker. Or how about this magnificent Patek Philippe Nautilus with slightly misaligned markers? In fact, the more handmade a watch is, the more likely imperfections will occur, such as this Patek Philippe well timed. Just look at this beautifully handcrafted watch with your eyes and the watch looks perfect. However, zoom in and look at the boundary lines on the map. Shock horror. Well, not really. This is least to be expected. Unlike the Omega and Rolex, which are due to quality control issues as machines were used to laser etch the dial and coat the hand with red enamel, in contrast, the imperfections on the dial of the Patek Philippe were made by hand, and therefore they're not imperfections at all, but individual works of art. No two Patek Philippe world times dials will ever be exactly the same, which is the beauty about these timepieces and makes them so magnificent. And how about the movements? Well, of course, some movements are vastly better than others, but many of the Japanese movements can easily compete with the likes of ETA and Sellita. By the way, information on this first part of a three-part series by Mark from the Watch Repair channel on servicing an old Seiko 7S26 movement is below in the description. It shows us how well made these workhorse movements really are. But there are also many other Japanese movements that completely outdo most of their Swiss rivals. Even luxury watchmakers don't always get their in-house movements right. I mean, for example, when Tudor released its new heritage range with its all-new in-house movement, the Tudor Caliber MT5602, people were extremely interested. However, within months of ownership, the watches suffered with date issues, ranging from the date getting stuck halfway when changing to jumping a few days at a time when adjusting. Upon this news, many watch collectors decided to go and pick up the earlier ET8284 version of the watch instead, increasing the older watch's popularity and price. And the same goes for other watches too. I mean, the Rolex Daytona's the more favourable version of the watch to the collector is the pre-2000 versions, which use Zenith's El Primero movement, not Rolex's own in-house caliber, the 4130. So really, many of the staple watch movements, though mass-produced, are sometimes more favourable because you know they're not going to let you down. And that is true of both good Japanese and Swiss movements alike. Which brings me to my conclusion. Watches, if we like it or not, are simply fashion accessories, regardless of price or brand. They grew out of ingenious technological advancements as a luxury to then a necessity of everyday life, as well as becoming extremely important tools for servicemen and women. But in more recent years or decades, with the introduction of affordable mobile phones, the need for watches has become more of a desire, a want, or a statement. They're pretty much no longer a necessity, but an expression of oneself, or to create a perception that we wish to portray. For example, how many of the people that you know who own a dive watch, like the Seamaster or Submariner, ever go diving in that watch? Or use the stopwatch on their chronograph for a race, or even know how to use the sliding rule around the Navitimer? But still we buy them. Why? Because in life, perception is everything. Though the Breitling Superocean 2 is possibly not really worth thousands more than the Seiko, the clever marketing tricks, product placement, reviews, price and such like, though in most part is really selling us unrealistic ideals, as imperfect human beings, we are drawn to the realms of perfection. It changes our perceptions. We judge things based upon what we see, hear and feel, and how we are perceived can and usually does directly affect how others treat us. And it is exactly because of these elements that play upon our insecurities that allows us to think or believe that the more expensive an item is, the better it must be. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more great content like this, then please ensure to like, share and subscribe.